Hello, I'm cartoonist Jeffrey J. Manley, best known for my graphic novel Gone. A cartoonist on the award runner-up Punching the Clock, and today I am going to take a look inside Grandpa's Ghost Stories by James Flora. I have a history with this book. I grew up with this book as a little kid. I don't know where it came from. Just found it in my house, and I loved it. It's probably my absolute favorite children's book, and as you can see, it is very scary. Like, to a kid, this has got to be a scary book. I draw a lot of scary things, a lot of things that look cute and cartoony, but have a monster turn to it. And I really think that this book is a lot of the reason that I am drawn towards drawing scary stuff. Let's see. James Flora only drew 3 kids' books that I've seen, and this one is a re-release in 2017 from Feral House Books. The original was made in 1978, released by Xerox Educational Books. I don't know how many printings it got, but I'd completely forgotten about this book. I'd completely forgotten that it existed until one of my friends, fellow cartoonist Patrick Dean, mentioned that he had been looking for it for a long time because it was one of his favorite kids' books when he was a kid, and that it was very hard to find, and it was very expensive to find the original version of it. So, and when he posted about that on Facebook, I was like, holy shit, I remember that book. I loved that book. And then I've been on the hunt for it. And then recently I was just like, I wonder if I can find how much that's going for on Amazon. And then I found this reprint. And I'm not going to delve too much into the story. Just going to look at the art. I a few years, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I looked at scans of it online, loved it, and now I'm looking at it again in person, holding the pages, and I just think it's a beautiful book, and I think more people need to see it, and more people should go out and buy it. And so let's get into Grandpa's Ghost Stories. Now the copyright's 1978. And, here's a history of it, which I probably should have read before I did this video, but whatever. And now here's where the beginning of the book was when I was a kid. I would stare at these pages. I mean, just the cutaway of the house, and, the kid looked like I did when I was a kid, and his grandpa looked like my grandpa, smoked a pipe, and these, like, poop-colored clouds, and all the scary monsters, and the frightened barn animals, just amazing stuff. And then he goes into he tells his grandson his scary stories. The bag of old bones. I mean, come on. Literally, he's in a shed with a bag of old bones. The monsters are always out of his viewpoint at this point. And so then he decides to dump the bag out and put the skeleton back together. And holy crap, look at that skeleton. This stuff, like, I was fascinated. I would stare at this. I just am still amazed by it. I draw skeletons in almost every book that I possibly can fit a skeleton into. I love skulls. I just love the small details of all the bones and the creepy monsters and the lightning. It's like he really is building a mood here. And I mean, just look how frightening that giant skeleton is, and grabbing his coat. And this always scared me. I've always been scared of small dark places, and this doesn't help. And just It's an intense book. And then the way that, the panel, it's almost like a panel progression here, like a comic book where you look at this page and you see him stuck in the hole. He was stuck in, the rock was stuck in there by the skeleton. And then as he goes into the hole, you see what's in there, and it's just a bunch of monsters and an old scary ugly witch. Cave of the Warty Witch. And so it's a continuation from the Bag of Bones, because the Bag of Bones story basically ends here with him being trapped in, but then the next story is a continuation off of that. And I mean, just the craziness of these, they're goofy, but still like scary, like a fish with two legs. I mean, just all these things. I still draw monsters like this in sketchbooks all the time, and it's all like subconscious. Like I don't sit down to draw a monster and then draw something like that because of him, but it's because of him. Like this guy right here, man, I would draw that all day long. This is amazing. Just a head with a bunch of tiny little hand legs. And then I forgot about that. The Warty Witch turns the boy into a monster himself. And oh, look at that guy. This is just an amazing book. This is just like every kid should read this book. My kids will read this book. And then obviously, like, as you read the pages, you kind of like, it's almost like a time change. Like here it's raining right here, but then it stops raining the rest of this, almost like you're progressing it through time. And then it's almost like you can, the cave, this is one end of the cave, and you just progress through the cave as you flip the pages. And then, boom, he finds the back of the cave, climbs out. But there's a creepy hand waiting for him, and that's a creepy hand. This right here, I draw severed hands all the time. I'm currently drawing a sequel to my graphic novel Gone, and one of the characters in it is a severed hand with bones sticking out the end. I just like pulled so much from this book without even knowing it. Just random skulls. And look at this house. Like, who thought of this? Like, well, James Flora thought of this, but just it's amazing. Like, you can feel the hair, and then it's basically alive. It's an alive house. The house of the ghastly ghost, and the hand is taking him right to it. And then this right here, this ghost just frightens me. And the dog, and I was always fascinated with that elephant foot. And I think about, like, how did the elephant foot get here? And man, that is just, look at that. That is just a great ghost design. And it's her hand. Look at that. Man, even better. Oh, look at it. The hand floated to the sleeve and slipped into place. Then the ghost lifted me up to the horrible black holes that were her eyes. And this is a book for kids. Oh, just amazing. Oh man, this shot. I vividly remember this shot right here. Because that axe is totally covering up his junk. Just so good. And the feet of the TV are monster claws. And she's happy to have a child. And then we get into some of the TV shows that she watches. And, there's the Warty Witch. She has her own cooking show. There's commercials. This book is like 100% my creativeness. Like, things that I put on the page, I want to give the same feeling that James Flora gave to me as a kid. And these monsters, and they're literally eating children right now. A hand sticking out, the boogery nose details. Like, I'm obsessed with just putting like strange details into stories like this when I draw, because like just the booger the snot coming out of his nose, that's fun to put in there. Even if the reader doesn't notice it, I love filling pages full of stuff like that. And just this whole design here, wow. This book is still impressive after 42 years of it existing. And then he gets eaten by the dog. And I'd stare at what all of here's his hiccups organ, and his sneezes come from here and growl. It's just the imagination that Flora had, just unlike anything else that was being given to children at the time. And then the story ends, and we see that he's also done these books, which I know that he did a Christmas story with, in the same vein. I don't have that book, but I definitely will be getting it after this. Feral House Books, feralhouse.com. I went to their website, and the majority of stuff they do seems to be very punk rock. Seems to be a lot of, like punk rock manifesto stories, some Suicide Girl books, and this book. Because this book right here is basically a punk rock kids book. Like, nothing about this book is normal in the world of kids books. It's a beautiful book. I'm so happy that I bought it. I'm so happy that I'll get to sit in the dark and read it to my kids. Just everything about this book is just a beautiful piece of art. Like, just all the small details of, a sword stuck in the wall, and poison, and a noose, and all the bodies of all the people that have been drug into that house before. I can't recommend this book enough. If you get a chance, go find Grandpa's Ghost Stories by James Flora. I think it's worth every penny, and I think that if you read this book as a kid, you're going to want to read it again. And if you didn't read it as a kid, but you like, scary comics, it's a must. It's a must read. But Grandpa's Ghost Stories. Oh, and also I also do this with like every single one of my comics. I love a wraparound cover. And this is probably one of the wraparound covers that stuck in my brain the most. Just sitting and staring at this book for hours on end as a kid. Thanks for watching my video.